The very moment Leslie allowed herself to believe she had finally escaped the long-running chaos of Fairmont Crest, life twisted back on itself like a cold blade sliding across bare skin without warning. She walked into the bank intending only to take care of a few routine matters, assuming the day would pass in orderly fashion, until the transaction screen at the counter lit up with a line of text so sharp and chilling it made her blood run cold. The account had been frozen, all transactions temporarily suspended under an emergency order. No prior notice, no explanation, just a single notification powerful enough to send the sense of security she had spent years building crashing down like a rotten floor yanked out from under her feet. Every foundation she had believed was solid, money, control, autonomy, suddenly felt fragile, like sand slipping through her fingers. The bank clerk was so flustered they dropped their pen. The manager hurried over, eyes flicking nervously between the screen and the internal records, desperately trying to find some loophole, some anomaly that could explain what had just happened. But the system kept returning the same result over and over, like a verdict that could not be overturned. A new name had appeared in Leslie's account file, a mysterious woman who had submitted a complete set of legal documents months ago. Those documents were not hastily thrown together. They looked as if they had been prepared with the meticulous care of someone who understood every crease in Leslie's life, every gap in the contracts she had signed, every minor clause she had dismissed as redundant or harmless. Somehow, in a way no one present could fully grasp, this woman had managed to activate a provision that Leslie herself had never known existed, never seen in any contract, will, or financial agreement that had ever passed through her hands. When the bank manager pulled up the security camera footage, the images on screen only made the air in the room feel heavier, like fog gathering in all the corners. The woman had arrived at the bank before the morning sun had even warmed the pavement. She walked slowly, with a calm so complete it gave the impression that everything had been planned long in advance. In her hand was a thick envelope, filled with documents that were complete, sharp, and legitimate down to the last stamp and seal. She set the envelope on the counter like an object that had already decided someone else's fate, like an anchor dropped to drag down the entire flow of Leslie's money and power with a single signature. Strangely, her contact information had been encoded under the name of a shell company, tied to a temporary phone number that made it impossible to trace who was really behind it. Her profile in the bank's system was spotless, leaving no clear trail at all, as if everything had been scrubbed on purpose to ensure that anyone trying to follow her tracks would find nothing but dead ends. What made everyone shudder was not the murky origin of this woman, but one single detail in the dispute file: she did not request to withdraw any money from the account, did not demand compensation, did not claim management rights, did not fight for any direct benefit. The only thing she did was trigger an order to temporarily freeze funds pending investigation of lawful ownership. On the margin of the file there was a handwritten note, the script small, sharp, neat, and cold as a blade sliding across steel: re-examine the origin of all funds attached to the name Leslie from the very first day it appeared. Just one short sentence, yet enough to blow apart the very foundation Leslie had been standing on. This kind of clause is not something an ordinary person could easily find in the financial system. It is the kind of hidden provision only those familiar with the deepest layers of banking law, inheritance structures, and the special regulations governing certain accounts held by powerful families would know how to access. That meant this woman had not only been preparing for months, but also understood the origin of Leslie's wealth so thoroughly that she knew exactly where to strike to make everything collapse. Then a chilling truth crept in like a shadow inching across the ground: no one but Leslie, and the people who had manipulated, supported, or despised her, truly knew where that fortune had come from. That fact accidentally gave rise to a terrifying hypothesis. This woman might be a fragment of the past Leslie had tried to bury, or worse, someone who had been watching her for a very long time, silently observing every step she took through the world of Fairmont Crest. Once the footage of the woman leaving the bank was replayed, the unease in the room multiplied exponentially. She walked out without the slightest hint of haste, neither anxious nor afraid of being discovered. Her smile was thin and unreadable, as if she fully understood she had just dropped a bomb into Leslie's life and her work was now complete. No need to look back, no need to double-check, no need to run. People who hold power in the shadows never have to hurry. The bank doors closing behind her marked nothing more than the end of a long period of preparation, and the beginning of a new wave of chaos that Leslie had absolutely no way to control. And what left Leslie struggling to breathe was not simply that her account had been frozen, it was the question born from that act: who had sent this woman here, and why did she have the right to dig into the darkest corners Leslie believed she had already locked away? The sensation of being watched wrapped around her like a shadow clinging to every breath. Leslie's life had been built on layers of careful calculation, intricate transactions, and relationships she had always assumed she understood. But now, what the bank system was asking her, even without words, was the one question she had never wanted to hear: is Leslie truly the lawful owner of that fortune? Or is she merely someone placed there temporarily, a stand-in, a pawn, a borrowed name used to shield someone else, someone who had now stepped out of the dark to reclaim what was originally theirs? Fairmont Crest had long worn the polished face of an elite community, but anyone who had lived there long enough knew that behind the elegant mansions and perfectly trimmed lawns lay countless secrets waiting for the right moment to burst open. Leslie had thought she was used to every knife in the back, every scheme in the shadows, every power game this community could throw at her. But this particular blow was nothing like the others. It didn't come from gossip, or an argument, or an obvious rival. It came from someone she had never even seen before, yet who knew enough about her to strike exactly at her most vital point. It was as if someone had been standing at the edge of Leslie's life for years, watching each of her steps, analyzing every transaction, memorizing every time she climbed another rung on the ladder of power. And then, waiting only for the moment she loosened her grip, the moment she believed she was finally safe, that person tightened a single, devastating noose, clean, precise, merciless. The final question, the most terrifying of all, was the one Leslie could not answer for herself. Who is this woman, and what secret does she carry that is powerful enough to rip apart not only Leslie's fortune, but also the entire glossy mask that Fairmont Crest has always tried to wear to conceal the rot beneath? Thank you all for your loyal support and listening.